Hi guys, my name is Dick Broughton and I'm a Randomfish. If you want to be a Randomfish too, hit that subscribe button and we'll all be like that together. So, I talked about it, I promised it, so now I'm going to review Wizards. My God, this was a fun film to watch. It actually was. And the disturbing thing is that I didn't really get into Ralph Bakshi all that much until I hit my 20s. Which kind of made sense in a lot of ways. Ralph Bakshi, for those of you who don't know, is a director slash animator type guy who for the longest time talked about how animation shouldn't just be for kids, it should be for adults. Now, he made his first film, Fritz the Cat, in 1972. Let me just double check that. Yes, 1972. Of course it is. 1972, Fritz the Cat was released, and a couple of other small ones before hitting this one in 1977 with Wizards. Now, it may not have been alongside Star Wars, but let's face it, that was the year of sci-fi epics. Or at least, for Star Wars anyway, the kickoff of sci-fi epics. But anyway, the reason why I said that I got into it in my 20s, and that being kind of appropriate, is that Ralph Bakshi's films, up until 77 with this, was all about 20-somethings attempting to see the world and attempting to actually do something with their lives that didn't involve sticking your head into a book somewhere and sitting around and just theorizing and talking about the world instead of actually going out and living it. Which I have to say is a very interesting philosophy, at least for Fritz the Cat anyway. And it was an interesting notion with an interesting idea, and it was cool animation. There was cool ideas. It was very raunchy and political and very in your face, which a lot of 20-somethings will kind of enjoy. Not to say that adults can't enjoy it, but let's face it, when you hit your 20s, you kind of hit this stage where you want to be taken seriously. So you watch a lot of stuff that's like that, and if it's presented to you in that kind of a format, you feel infinitely smarter having watched it. And I gotta say, I didn't feel overly smarter watching it, but it was kind of cool to witness. But then this film got released, like I said, in 1977, and whoo boy! This was different. So the plot of this film is incredibly simple. It takes place millions of years into the future where approximately, I think it's 4 terrorists let loose a bunch of nuclear bombs all over the world and completely devastate and sort of not eliminate the human race, but really just transform the Earth forever. And in this day and age, that's getting scary close. It almost feels scarily true in a lot of ways, but hey. But anyway, in this post-apocalyptic version of the future anyway, mankind has mutated and changed and basically become monsters of the planet. They're crawling around, they're not doing as much, and they're not really human anymore. They are just all mutants. However, to almost put a balance in on the planet, I guess, in a lot of ways, which I think is very cool, the idea was that only a few places on the Earth were completely irradiated, to the point where the mutants could really only live in the irradiated areas. In more nature-y based areas, or places where nature had grown in and taken over once again, we have the emergence of the mystical creatures, fairies, elves, trolls, giants, all that sort of thing. They've all grown and they've all come out of hiding because humanity has essentially completely screwed itself over, so they've come back to take back the planet, essentially. Which is a very cool notion, and I like that notion. And watching back on an old Netflix show, that I found, and no, it's not actually a Netflix show, but I found it on Netflix, I get the feeling that's what the Shannara Chronicles was going for as well, so, I mean, cheers, Ralph. You gave them a good idea as well. Although, quite frankly, he did it better. But, so basically what happens is the queen of the fairies at the time ends up getting pregnant through virtually unknown means, to the point where she's actually perfectly fine. She sees a light, she goes off, and then she has twins. No mention of her being pregnant at all previously. I don't know if she was or not. Frankly, if she was, I applaud the fact that that didn't get mentioned at all, because that's like made it completely come out of nowhere, which is the kind of randomness I love in a film, especially from that. I know for a lot of people that would be very jarring and very annoying that that wasn't mentioned, but to me, I'm just sitting there like, yeah, but that's just funny. That's just a funny way of bringing it about. Like, but if it literally is just the light hit her and she gave birth, fair enough. There was no pregnancy, fine. But she gave birth to twins, twin boys. And for those of you who do know a lot of twins, I mean, I think you'll all agree that they don't always look the same. Identical twins are still kind of a rarity. Twins are rare, but they're not really born identical half the time. Heck, I know a couple of twins myself, and it's not so bad. But here's the thing that makes me laugh even more. The two of them that get born, they seem to suffer from what I like to call the Disney naming issue. I.e., where the bad guy gets a name that you sit there and go, but he's gonna be a bad guy. How do you give him that name and not come to the conclusion that he will grow up to be evil? How does that look? To give you concept, the good guy is named Avatar. This first baby is named Avatar. He's lovely and cute and can do magic and all this lovely stuff, and he looks like a slightly jolly little baby, the kind of, the kind of kid that I'm fairly sure I would grow up to become me, essentially speaking. And then you have the other kid who's thin, skinny, has kind of a long face and big eyes, almost looking a bit like Gollum's son, I guess would be the best way of describing it. And what's his name? Black Wolf. Let me just reiterate that. Black Wolf. How the hell did that not become a warning sign right there and there? Ah! It amuses me. It really does. It's hilarious how that sort of stuff just happens, and how, you have these parents who sit there and go, my child grew up to be evil, but I gave him such a nice name. You gave him the name Black Wolf. But I'm still so shocked. How are you shocked? How? Anyway, internal argument over and done with. So, they grow up, mother eventually dies, the two of them have a little fight. This is all done in the narration, by the way. The animation in the narration is minimal, and it's kind of cool. This whole thing is described in the narration at the beginning. And there's a fight between Avatar and Black Wolf, where Avatar wins, because Black Wolf finds out that his mother died, therefore wants to assume his authority and take her throne for himself to rule over the world. Avatar, of course, steps in and says, no, you bloody well ain't, I'm going to do it, because, I'm the good guy, you're the bad guy, doi. So even Avatar figured it out pretty quickly, even though I don't necessarily know if his mum did. Although Black Wolf pretty much has been ignoring his mum ever since he was able to sort of get away from her, so yeah, that probably doesn't help. Also, here's the other thing. Avatar is born completely fine. He is born with no missing limbs, no missing bits of him, nothing. Black Wolf is born, and as he grows up, as you see him in the animation later on, he is missing the skin from half his flipping arm. It's all bone. It's creepy. Now, it turns out, of course, that he was born a mutant. So she gave birth to a mutant and a human, and they were born at the same time, so they're twins, but they're complete... Like I said, almost Disney logic. It's brilliant. I love it. But anyway, moving past this. Black Wolf goes off and lives in the mutant part of the world, lives in the irradiated areas, and gets an army together and wants to conquer and take what Avatar has. Avatar is kind of doing the same thing, but he's doing it with all the magical creatures and trying to do it without having to resort to what his brother does. He goes back, he still uses magic. Black Wolf really doesn't, he's using technology a lot. So technology versus magic. That's cool. I like that idea. But here's where it gets really weird. We discover, through various formats, that Black Wolf has been finding bits of technology that have been left by the humans across all the millions of years that have survived. Now, bear in mind, if this had been done in sort of the 21st century, or, you know, even within the last decade or so, if this animation had been acceptable at that point, it would be, you know, a smartphone. It would be, you know, you'd find out that the satellites are still in orbit and you could still use the internet and you could still do stuff and blah, 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 blah. And it's all that kind of stuff. And Black Wolf sort of learns very quickly, you know, Black Wolf would learn that sort of thing quite quickly. But the stuff that survived at this point, bear in mind, this was made in 1977. So when he first started writing it, I'm going to give it a leap and say back in 1976. Maybe 75. Give it something like 2 years between. I'm guessing so he can actually, you know, have some time to finish the story and actually do that. But bear in mind, in 1975, when he started writing this, or 76, at this point in the game, a lot of stuff has still happened. Now, technology hadn't really advanced that much, but it wasn't too bad either. But bear in mind, this is set millions of years in the future. Most of humanity has withered away. Like, the mutants are all that's left of the human race. Like, the descendants of the mutant race is what remains of humanity. We're gone. We don't exist in this story. But the idea is that he has found remnants of the human world that have survived, bits of technology, which include tanks. How? And even more amazingly, which I'm sorry, I find this very hilarious, they discovered an old film projector, which has a very interesting projection on it. Yeah. So how does Black Wolf intend to scare off Avatar's forces and inspire his soldiers to winning the battle and conquering the world for him? Nazi propaganda. Nazi propaganda. Help! Please help! First of all, bold choice, Ralph. Bold choice. Number two, I'm guessing at this point in time it wasn't as bad, given that when Star Wars came out, stormtroopers looked more Nazi-esque than pretty much anything else, and that's what the mainstream was dealing with. So I'm pretty sure your little thing took a bit of a more of a backseater than it already had done. But wow! I am so amazed that got snuck under the radar. And it amused the crap out of me so much, because I sat there and I watched it and my brain went, how did this happen? How did he get approval for this shot at all? And I sit back and all I can think of is Ralph sitting in his office somewhere looking at this film going, I made this film, I gave the bad guys, you know, a Nazi propaganda machine, essentially speaking, and I've given them that, and this film is not only released to the public, like out of my hands, been given to someone else who then approved that and put it out into the world for people to see. That film also then got put on VHS and released, because bear in mind, this is back in like the 70s and the 80s. Because, you know, kids, ask your brothers or sisters or even your parents about VHS tapes. My God. But now, it's out on DVD. I know it's not like the main point of the movie, and I'm sorry, I know I might be nitpicking, but oh my God. How... It blew my mind how much this film sort of put that in there, because it doesn't just show up the once, it shows up multiple times throughout the film, because he uses it to scare the elves and the fairies and all the other characters who are coming in to sort of fight his soldiers, because he plays the propaganda machine through, he plays the propaganda film with this projector by somewhere, like he's hiding, like someone's hiding somewhere with the projector, playing the projector, and it's coming up on the screen. It's coming up like in the woods or on a big wall or something, and they all just stop and they freeze and they go, oh my god. And they look around and they're completely dumbfounded and they don't know what's going on. And then all these soldiers get brought in and they slice them all down and they gun them all down. That's another thing. They got guns, does Black Wolf's army. They all have guns. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right. Forgive me. Avatar has to go and finally put a stop to Blackheart because he hears about this problem, and he goes off and he goes travelling with the daughter of the president of his kingdom at the time, who very much, I think, only has 4 lines before he's shot, which is weird. His daughter is, again, a very typical fantasy-based princess type. She is a fairy and she's learning magic in very typical Ralph Bakshi fashion. She's wearing very little and has amazingly large breasts. And she's flying around and she's giggling at everything and like calling Avatar a silly old man and all this sort of thing. It's all very weird. But they end up going off to do that along with another character whose name completely escapes me because it's so quickly said, and this doesn't have subtitles, so I can't read what his name is, so I can't look it up at some point to try and figure it out, which is very frustrating. But then you also have a robot who I didn't think was a robot when I first saw him. I thought, oh, it's just a guy that Black Wolf has, you know, manipulated or something to join his side, or, you know, it's one of the elves or gnomes or something that, you know, has been manipulated. That's fine. It's not. It's a robot, apparently, which I thought was absolutely flippin' hilarious. You know, and he's sort of been hired by, well, not been hired, he's been programmed, I think, by Black Wolf and the others to go out and shoot people who talk about magic being a good thing, because obviously technology rules for him, so anyone who says magic is good is immediately killed. He's also the one that kills the president after his 4 or 5 lines, which, yeah, he's a better character, we like him. But anyway, through all of this stuff, and through all the stuff that sort of happens throughout the film, Avatar and Blackwood end up meeting for the final time within this film, at which point we then get the two of them having this big debate about the whole thing, I'm finally going to get what you think you deserve, but it's what I deserve, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, blah, 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 and then Avatar shoots him. What? Okay. It's a bit anticlimactic, isn't it? I would have loved to have seen like a magic versus technological battle. Like almost have Black Wolf with the gun and Avatar using his magic to block the bullets, or diving out of the way and shooting him with magical blasts or something. No. He just shoots him. Like almost at point blank range. But then it gets something interesting out of me. Because I look back on this film after having watched it a few times now. I've had to re-watch it a couple of times just to sort of wrap my head around a lot of stuff. But here's the thing. This film is, and always will be, I think, this very interesting look at what is referred to by many as the war is ugly argument. Now, for many people, obviously, war being ugly is not something that is brand new information. We all know it. War is a disgusting thing. It shouldn't be anyone's first resort, but for some reasons, sometimes it is, just because of reasons. But whatever. I'm not here to get into that kind of debate, because that's for people and other YouTubers who are far more able to do it than myself. But this film very much created this interesting world where magic had to be against technology, and Avatar wielding a gun it kind of took it away from me, I guess. But at the same time, you can kind of see why. Because it kind of shows this very unique and interesting idea that you have this one good, one evil thing. But it's really not. Because the idea is that you're meant to be able to have, if I may get a little bit philosophical on you all for a minute, we all have the ability to encater good and evil inside us. We all have the ability to do good or do evil. That's how it works. However, for somebody like Black Wolf within this film, he has made the wrong choice at every turn. He doesn't really understand, or at least wants to entertain the idea of being a good guy in any sense of the word. He doesn't want to entertain the notion of thinking good thoughts. He doesn't want to entertain any of those notions whatsoever. Avatar, on the other hand, has been raised mostly by his mother, I would guess. At which point he has grown up with a sense of incorporated balance within himself. He does understand that in order to live life, you have to accept that there's going to be good decisions you make and bad decisions for the right reasons and good decisions for the wrong reasons and just bad decisions. This is where it comes from. I think Avatar shooting Black Wolf is a combination of irony for Black Wolf, because I reckon Avatar got really sick of Black Wolf going the whole technology is greater than magic kind of thing, so he's like, fine, be hoisted on your own petard, bang. Or number two, with it being this thing of Avatar going, I harbour resentment for you, I want to be able to have technology in my life just as much as you do. But not quite at the same level, but still. But I also don't want it to overtake what I have. I had to take this stance of magic only, but only use technology when it's absolutely necessary, when everything wasn't so screwed up anymore. But you have gotten so dug so deeply into this trench, I can't get you out of it. I'm going to have to just end this for you. Bang! There are other ways to explain it. There are probably better ways to explain it, maybe, but I don't know. That kind of really just hit me. And it hits me a lot with this movie. This movie is about the grip of one ideal to another ideal, and not seeing which one crumbles first, but holding up to the weight of what happens when one of them, at least, has the ability to try and compromise, when the other one does not. And just to sum up, before I sign off, because I do want to sit here and I do want to emphasize a couple of things. Number one, go see this movie if you haven't already, because if you haven't seen it and you've been watching this video, what is wrong with you people? And number two, just go see the movie again. Even if you've watched it before, watch it again. And watch it not just with an open mind, but with a fun mind. Because Ralph Bakshi does do a lot of political stuff. And sometimes in kind of political based things you make decisions that others may think are out of your character, but you've had to do it for the collective good. Because killing Black Wolf, whether we like it or not, was doing the right thing. Even if it was by something that a lot of people wouldn't have considered was a good thing. But here it is. Those are my thoughts on this film. Buy Wizards. Watch it. Enjoy it. But most of all, just enjoy the madness that is Ralph Bakshi. So what's going to be my next video? What's going to be my next review? Well, I have two options really. The first one is a film starring Keanu Reeves, Robert Downey Jr., Winona Ryder, and Woody Harrelson. I'll let you figure out which one that is. You know, I'm sure you've all figured it out by now already. Or I will wait an entire week and not bring out a video halfway through the week and simply do a review on Sunday of all 5 seasons of a show that is coming to an end, because I've heard it's the final season, of a little show from Netflix. What do you think? That film? Or When the Power of Grayskull? Or even The Honor of Grayskull? Randomfish out.